right, welcome back to the Semi-Sages of the Pages and our author interview series for our release of Queens in Wonderland. My name's Teresa, and I'm here with LMZ, who wrote Alex Down the Meerkat-Hole. And I cannot wait for everyone to check out the story because it does such a fantastic job of putting slightly different spins on the characters, especially the Mad Hatter's dialogue. You cannot, oh my gosh, it was so incredible, and I cannot wait for everyone to read this story. But LMZ, what was kind of your favorite part of writing this one?
This story's kind of a long one. I was taking a children's literature class about a year ago, and one of the works we were looking into was the first chapter of Alice in Wonderland. And I brought it home, and I mentioned it to my mom, and she was like, "I never understood his writing. He writes like he's on drugs." And I thought, imagine being so creative that people think you have to be on drugs to write what you've written. And from then on, I knew I had to try his writing style. And so I kind of pieced together how I wanted the characters to be over a month or two and then finish the story in class.
Yeah. And one of the unique things about this story is that there's actually a band that comes together and plays a song. And you're a musician, right?
I'm a drummer and a percussionist.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love it when we can take our own knowledge and work it into the story in a very, very seamless way.
Yes, it's definitely cool to be able to see a character kind of like myself in a story, and I hope that people who read this are able to see the same thing.
Good, good. Now, what drew you to becoming a part of this anthology?
Well, I wrote that story in my children's lit class, and I kind of put it to the side because most of what I write is very different. I don't usually write like lighthearted, funny things. I tend towards gothic literature and things like that. And so it didn't fit into any of the novels I was working on or anthologies or poetry. And I wasn't really sure what to do about it. And I was looking for places to submit to when it came to short stories, and I sort of happened across your guys' anthology, and it fit perfectly because I'd already written a queer Alice in Wonderland inspired story, and it was sort of one of those lovely coincidences.
Good, good. Oh, I love it when it works out that way. Especially because, we as authors, we always have our backlist of short stories that either we wrote for an anthology that we didn't make it into, or that we just wrote because it was awesome and the characters were talking to us and insisted on being created. And it's so nice when you actually get to find the perfect place to put them. Was there anything that was challenging to you about writing this story?
I think it was challenging just because it was new. Like trying to write humor for pretty much the first time, aside from occasional smart remarks in previous stories. It took me a while. I ended up compiling like all of the Mad Hatter's dialogue before I started the story, and then sort of intermingling it throughout. But it was a really fun process.
Yeah. And I would say your Mad Hatter's dialogue is one of the strongest and the funniest parts of this story. I loved it so much. I read it so many times just because I was like, how did she do that? That's so cool. So awesome. Really good. All right, before we get to the reading, where can our viewers find out more information about you?
A little tricky. I'm anti-establishment, so I've pretty much cut off all social media a few years ago. But you can find my works online. I wrote a novel, Naudila. It's a middle grade novel a couple of years ago. And I actually just finished a poetry collection in November called Killed the Clock. And you can find that on Barnes& and Noble on their website. And that is under a different name. It's under Rick Mazzoli. So good luck finding that.
Good, good. Awesome, awesome. Okay, ready to get to the reading?
Down the Meerkat. Dedicated to all phrases which can be delightfully misconstrued, and to those who misconstrue them, and to quirked lips who betray thoughts from so-called idle minds, all is improved in imaginings. The Mad Hatter. I'm dedicating this story to Lewis Carroll for inspiration. Alex. Nonsense. This book is dedicated to the watch I'm buying to keep you all on time, leisure lovers. The Mahogany Meerkat. Alex was meant to be practicing scales, but what's the point of singing scales, they thought, if one is a drummer? And so had snuck out of the tutoring session while the creaky musician, creaky like a cupboard, Alex thought, though much less useful. A cupboard could at least hold jam in it, unlike the ancient musician, was tutoring their older sister. The tutor wouldn't be leaving until tea time, and that was a long ways away, so Alex now sat in the shade of the mansion, looking out over the field and rose gardens beyond, utterly and painfully fraught with boredom. So distraught with boredom were they that they hardly noticed when a meerkat ran across the yellowed and sun-drenched grass, wringing its paws. "Crap, crap," muttered the meerkat to itself. "Oh, drumsticks and guitar picks, I'm going to be late." The meerkat stood still only long enough to string a red tie around its neck and knot it, then dashed off across the lawn. Alex had yet to see a meerkat outside the zoo, let alone one who could knot a tie. They heard a door shut somewhere in the mansion, and the musty attic voice of the tutor began calling for their return. The voice came nearer, filtering through the open windows and carrying hoarsely through the stagnant summer air. Musician or meerkat? Alex checked the watch on their wrist. The hands stood still as they had for the past half-year, yet Alex was quite familiar with watches and estimated that there were 2 hours left until tea time. They couldn't possibly stand being tutored that much longer. Alex bounded to their feet and ran after the meerkat.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you, rather than using a rabbit, used a meerkat.
That is actually a sort of ode to Green Day, my favorite band. A meerkat and red tie and eyeliners. I just threw that in there as a reference.
Okay, that makes sense now. That's so fun. Green Day.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't listened to them in years.
Well, they'll have a new album out in a week, so listen to them.
That's good to know. I probably will check it out. So, okay, well, thank you for coming. Anything else to add?
Not at the moment. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. I'm so glad we were able to do this. So if you're watching this episode, Queens in Wonderland is either available for pre-order or is available in all the places. So please pick up your copy, check out all the wonderful stories, including Alex Down the Meerkat-Hole. So thanks for coming. We'll see everyone around. Take care. Bye now.